Katsina State Governor braves President Buhari on students' abduction.
We have a fair idea of the locations where the children are. And I think the military and other security agencies are right now in the forest to make sure that they are rescued.
Vice President Oshibajo urges states and local governments to review regulations hindering growth of MSMEs in Nigeria.
We must call out government officials who are making it difficult for people to do business. We simply must call them out.
Chief Justice of Nigeria advocates adequate funding of judicial arm of government at all levels.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the National Social Housing Program.
Well, it is quite an understatement to say that COVID-19 has dealt a very big blow on the world's economy, including Nigeria, of course, with attendant serious consequences on the socio-economic well-being of the nation and their peoples.
Well, in response to the adverse consequences of the coronavirus pandemic, various governments have introduced different strategies, as it were, aimed at mitigating the effects of the pandemic.
Well, of course, Nigerian government also keyed into those initiatives and came up with quite a number of programs, including the Economic Sustainability Plan, ESP, in which programs were outlined, programs of action aimed at addressing the challenges, of course, posed by coronavirus pandemic.
Well, the Economic Sustainability Plan has three major pillars, and these are the real sector, fiscal and monetary measures, and implementation.
Now, the National Social Housing Program is a key component of the Economic Sustainability Plan under the real sector, and it's expected to deliver 300,000 homes yearly, using, of course, local materials in the construction.
Well, the program is designed to engage young professionals and artisans in the construction industry to enable them to develop the houses, of course, which will then be based on standards with priority on the use, as Claire mentioned a while ago, on local materials and labor.
And indeed, Kingsley, apart from that, the scheme is also, as always, targeted at creating, some millions of jobs, in the process, thereby helping to, bring down the unemployment rate in the country, which has been, steady at double digits in the past few years.
Well, the program, that's the National Social Housing Program, is expected to be launched tomorrow, Wednesday, the 16th of December, 2020, and it will provide homes for low-income earners. And the homes, of course, will be in the categories of 1, 2, or 3-bedroom units that will be sold at, it is said, knocked-down prices.
Indeed, and that's the catch for this initiative, affordable prices. So what will be the guidelines for keying into the scheme? What is the source or sources of financing the projects? And who are eligible to buy the houses under the scheme? Again, the questions we are likely to ask will be what strategies are being put in place to ensure sustainability of the plan. We've seen so many of such housing schemes. What will be the mode of payment for the houses? So many questions that I'm sure you would want answers to on today's edition of the program. This is an interesting topic, and we intend to tackle as we discuss the National Social Housing Program of the federal government under the ESP. And it's on this note, I welcome you once again, all of you, wherever you're watching from, to Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. I am Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Claire to also welcome you to the program. We are broadcasting live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are here in the Abuja headquarters studios. As always, we would have our complimentary segments of the program, and these include business and newspaper review. Right now, let's join Tessie Omeri for the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Tessie.
Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Claire. Indeed, interesting topic there, housing. Before then, here's the news. Contacts have been made with those that have abducted the students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State. Governor Aminu Bello Masari, who disclosed this while speaking to NTA News after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari in Daura, said the location of the missing students has also been identified.
We are having positive responses. There was a contact from the kidnappers to the parents of one of the pupils, and we have also made some contact with some of them, and we have a fair idea of the locations where the children are, and I think the military and other security agencies are right now in the forest to make sure that they are rescued.
And as rescue operation intensifies to bring back the abducted students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State, federal government delegation led by the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Saleh Magashi, has interacted with community leaders, members of Parent Teachers Association and principal of the school. The delegation was in Kankara to sympathize with the community and generate first-hand information for prompt action.
The bandits that are with the students were giving cover because they were exchanging fire with the police and the army that came. So as they were exchanging fire, this group already they are moving with the children.
And the need to carry traditional institutions along in the scheme of things in the country has again been stressed. This was during a solidarity visit to government and people of Borno State by a National Council of Traditional Leaders led by its chairman, Sultan of Sokoto, Dr. Muhammad Saad Abubakar, over the murder of rice farmers in the state.
None of the holy books, either in the Quran or the Bible, where I say you kill one another, burn people's property, destroy people's property here and there.
We want to get rid of this insurgency and other problems in the country. We must have to ensure that the traditional rulers are accorded the right position in our national laws.
And on the economy, micro, small and medium enterprises remain the backbone of the nation's economy. And Vice President Yemi Osibanjo is urging states and local government councils to take a second look at some regulations that are affecting the growth of micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. This was during the inauguration of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industries Trade and Convention Center.
The time has come for us to have, the Chamber of Commerce paying very, very active attention to all that is going on in the MSME space, especially with respect to regulation. We must call out government officials who are making it difficult for people to do business. We simply must call them out.
Chief Justice of Nigeria has again advocated adequate funding of the nation's judicial arm of government at the state and federal levels. This was part of the high point of the CJN's address at the commencement of the 2020-2021 new legal year, where 72 legal practitioners were elevated to senior advocates of Nigeria.
The welfare of the judicial officers is another crucial issue that we can't afford to sweep under the carpet. The paltry sum of money being collected as monthly salaries is an issue that needs urgent redress.
And the application of traditional, complementary and alternative medicine is not new to Nigeria. What is lacking is an efficient institution for formal training of practitioners. It is this gap that the Federal College of Traditional, Complementary and Alternative Medicine of Nigeria Establishment Bill seeks to close. The proposed law was subjected to public for input.
We cannot undermine research in the traditional option as well. A Federal College of Traditional, Complementary and Alternative Medicine will be a platform for such investigation.
Is to take the tools of medicine to examine, the tools of science to examine traditional medicine, complementary medicine and alternative medicine. And this bill seems to almost duplicate what the ministry is already doing.
And the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has announced 201 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. The breakdown of the new infections, which cut across 11 states, shows that Kaduna tops the list with 74, followed by Lagos with 53 and Katsina 40. Others are Rivers 11, Plateau 9, Kwara 6, Bauchi, Ogun and Taraba states have 2 each, while Edo and Sokoto states have 1 each. For now, Nigeria has recorded 73,374 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 66,314 were treated and discharged, while 1,197 died of the virus. And that concludes the morning news highlights. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Claire after this break. Thanks for watching.
All right, welcome back. If you've just tuned in, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Time now to join our correspondent Kunle Ade for our GMN Business News.
Being a sector that is critical to economic growth, manufacturers in the country have been enjoined to come out of the comfort zone and bring more innovations into the sector. With the African Continental Free Trade Area set to take off next year, President Market Traders Association of Nigeria, Jamilu Abbas, said Nigerian manufacturers need to enhance the quality of their products, which will allow them compete in the African market.
Manufacturers are very, very important. People that has a factory, let them come and take a certain seminars or a certain intervention program from the government so that they can be able to boost their level of manufacturing. Because if we cannot manufacture, that means we cannot rely on our own. We cannot stay on our feet. So most of the countries that are having the growth of economic, you learn that they are self-producers. They produce for themselves.
He emphasized that Nigeria, being the largest market in Africa, will be the center of AFCFTA. And to the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to see how tradings went on the first day of the week, Monday, December 14, 2020. With business news, I'm Kunle Ade.
Many thanks, Kunle Ade, for the business package. Coming up next is newspaper review.
Bayo is here. Good morning, Bayo, and you look tapa.
Thank you. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
This is lovely.
It's Nigerian.
Nigerian indeed. Absolutely. Kingsley, you're not saying anything.
You are a woman, and so you're the one All right, Bayo. Nice to have you with us this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Shall we begin?
Yes,
yes.
We should.
I'm just surprised at Kingsley's remarks.
Let's take a look at the front page of the Nation newspaper. Above the nameplate of the paper, 2 or 3 of the headlines we shall be taken from there. 8 more army generals test positive to COVID-19. That's page 34. 8 more army generals test positive to COVID-19. Bandits kill pastor, kidnap 20 in Niger community. That's in Niger State, page 36. Federal government and ASU talks put off again. That's page 6. And below the nameplate, banks non-performing loans dip by 3.5%. And Kwara governor backs UN He for She award. The story is inside. On the list story is a running one, and it comes with a kicker. Military abducted pupils taken away on motorcycles. And there are 3 riders to that. Kidnappers demand ransom and end to aerial surveillance. And North Elders and JNI slam government. That's Jamaatul Nasr Islam, slamming government. UN, NLC and others flay boys kidnap. You can see an illustration on the front page there. That's the map of Katsina State. And then cycle there is Kankara. That's where the incident took place. And also there on the front page, CJN seeks better pay for judges. And right at the foot of the front page, said Northeast least banked region. And Lafia Emir is Rivers Varsity Chancellor. That's page 33. There's a sidebar there on the front page of the Nation newspaper. If you go back there again, you see there's a big question mark. There are some 3 questions there being asked by the paper. It says, why didn't troops cordon off the school gates? Where were the soldiers when pupils were being taken away? And how many motorcycles did they use to take away 333 pupils? That's according to the Nation newspaper. Claire.
Yes, I was just wondering if we could see those question marks again. I don't know if we can see those. They're very, very certain questions, and Kingsley. Okay, Kingsley.
All right. I mean, I've already read the questions. That's from the Nation newspaper. She's asking pertinent questions relating to the abduction of the school pupils last weekend.
Very sad. All right, let's look at the Daily Trust newspaper also on Katsina school attack. And the lead story says we are negotiating with abductors, that's Masari tells Buhari. And the riders are no contact with kidnappers yet. That's according to the parents of the students. 16 more Kankara students back. And how to rescue students, that's coming from an expert. It's one tragedy too many. GNI, Shoyinka Northern Group. And there you see a picture story of a security meeting organized by the coalition of northern groups, which was disrupted by suspected armed thugs at the Arewa House in Kaduna yesterday. And you see, of course, the upturned chairs and tables, and of course others apparently scampering for safety. Armed thugs disrupt northern group's security meeting at Arewa House. Details of that, it's on page 12. And Southeast will resist card reader in 2023, Governor Mai on page 33. Inside Rugu Forest, where hundreds of schoolboys are being held. You can see that on page 3. And also even there, you would read, I think it's the tale of what goes on within the forest, as told by probably one of the abductors there. It's on page 3. You want to find out details of that. Clergy killed, 19 kidnapped in Niger. Details of that on page 8. And other stories trending a little below the nameplate, and it's on COVID-19 spike. Why federal government home care policy is unsustainable. Details of that on page 4. Gridlock. Cost of moving container from Lagos port rises to 1.2 million naira. It's on page 16. And Sultan to military, occupy Lake Chad and Sambisa Forest. Details of that on page 12. Bayo.
Thank you, Claire. Let's go to the story about the concern about students of government science secondary school, Kankara. Governor Bello Aminu Masari has briefed President Muhammadu Buhari that contact has been made with the kidnappers. In a discussion with the president, he briefed the president that there has been an indirect contact with the kidnappers. We are making progress and the outlook is positive. He reiterated that the military has identified the children's location. In another development reported in the Nigerian Tribune, the governor is said to have reported that 15 students were found in Damusa local government area. Security operative recovered 1 student, and 1 student had the parent called to say that his son has returned home. He clarified that so far, government has no direct contact with the bandits. However, the bandits had contacted one of the parents of the students and was even demanding ransom. The bandits have asked security to stop hovering with their aircraft over their location. The governor says that the criminal bandits are now in Zamfara, and that is what is referred to as the Rugu Forest in Zamfara State with the kidnapped students. Our concern is that we want to make sure that the students are released unhurt. Meanwhile, the Jamaatul Nasrul Islam has called that there are indications that security operatives do not want insecurity to end. And this speculation is because of possibly pecuniary benefit. The Secretary General of JNI, Khalid Aliyu, said in a statement, called on President to listen to the call to revamp the security architecture and also address the nation. He says on the abduction of GSS Kankara, there are certain critical questions. He says, how can one explain the movement of bandits in their hundreds of motorcycles without being detected? And what happened in the intermediary that this heinous crime was planned and hatched without intelligence uncovering them? He also asked how come that the bandits were able to gather students, heap them on motorcycles, and whisk them away without being rounded up. He says that the abduction is coming after Zabarumari, which is one tragedy too many. While visiting Borno, the Sultan, who led the Traditional Council of Nigerian Rulers, also suggested that the military should occupy Lake Chad. You may recall that the Sultan was a brigadier before he ascended the throne as the Sultan. He said, as a lieutenant, I was in Lake Chad for 6 months. He said, my battalion rotated every 6 months with other battalions at Mongono and Maiduguri. There are 36 islands on the Lake Chad. Nigerian troops occupied 16 of them at that time. I don't know why we can't occupy the whole of Lake Chad forest and as well as Sambisa. It may be recalled that last week, Governor Zulum of Borno has said there are 3 critical nucleuses where the insurgents are settled. Sambisa Forest, Lake Chad, and the third one is Mandara Forest in Cameroon. And he believes that if those 3 locations are attacked by our soldiers, taking the war to them, the insurgency will be over.
You know, talking about this Rugu Forest, and I want to read out a portion or two from page 3 of someone who claims, you know, this newspaper claims to know the terrain very well. And here is what he says. It says the forest has 6 ranges, 4 of which are that is his domain. The forest boasts of several water outlets, streams, and there are 18 dams that were established since the late Sardana's time. Now, he said, they have guns, different types. Every day they slaughter about 7 cows for their upkeep, he told us.
So they are living big time within that Rugu forest?
Yes. Yes. And according to this account, it said the terrain, the forest has been partitioned by bandits who control different segments.
Simple. All we require is to have our military dominate that forest and take it over from the bandits. Anyway, let's return to the alarm with COVID-19. Latest rate has indicated an upsurge. This is an indication that last week, 3,817 cases were recorded, and this equals the highest we have had. That was in July of this year. The 796 that was recorded last Friday is the highest ever since COVID-19 started in February. So far, we have had a total of 845,458 cases, and yesterday we had 201 cases, and out of it, so far we have 73,134 that have tested positive, and 66,314 have been discharged. Aside from the 1,197 deaths we have had, we now have 5,863 of our compatriots who are in hospital treatment for COVID-19. Again, it's increasing. Just about 2 months ago, we had less than 3,000 people who were in hospitals. But unfortunately, because of the upsurge, the NCDC has now directed that the centers should now be reopened because apparently we are facing a situation, if not checked, we may possibly be going into a second surge.
ASU strike.
ASU strike, negotiations are still going on.
No, they have called off
the strike, yes. Okay.
They've called off the negotiation, not the strike.
The call of the negotiations,
yes.
Because as at last week, December 9th was the date, the Minister of Labour had given indication that ASU was supposed to have called off the strike by that date. And ASU said no, they require time to meet with their various councils. Apparently, from their consultation with their consuls with the various universities, they seem not to have agreed with what was negotiated with the federal government. Sadly, the universities have been closed, aside from COVID-19, since February.
Well, Bayo, just there's a table on page 34 of the Nation newspaper where it's indicating the data on COVID-19 cases. Now, in Nigeria, 1,194 persons have died according to the paper. And this is as at 9 p.m. on December 13th.
Yes.
Active cases, 5,888. So we have nearly 6,000 cases that are active in the country. And there's also a story there on that page indicating that Kano has confirmed 12 new infections. So, as we have always advised, Corona is back and people should take it.
In fact, Kaduna State has warned that if care is not taken, they will be forced to go into a second lockdown because it has also recorded a surge and increases in COVID cases. Meanwhile, 538 electors went to the Electoral College and confirmed Joe Biden as president. And President-elect Biden says, our democracy pushed, tested, and it has treated and turned out to resist all what we have seen. True and strong, and we are better off as a nation. Donald Trump said, well, the will of the people has prevailed. But he still has not given up. While the electoral colleges have reported, and from that electoral college, Biden had 308 votes, Donald Trump 232. There's still a date where these electoral votes will be confirmed, and Donald Trump is still looking into his bags of tricks to see if he will find initiative to scuttle it. Meanwhile, his Attorney General...
Biden scored 306.
Is it?
306, yes, electoral votes, yes, to 232 to that of Trump. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has sacked his Attorney General of the Federation.
He resigned.
Attorney General.
He resigned.
Well, there's conflicting his head. Ask him to leave, say he should resign.
He's leaving by Christmas. It's given indication already. I mean, I don't know how many of his staff and senior government officials Donald Trump has hired and fired in nearly 4 years that he's been president. But he leaves noon on the 20th of January. And I'm sure Americans and the rest of the world are looking forward to that date. No trick in the bag can scuttle what the Americans decided on the 3rd of November this year.
Yes. One thing is certain.
It's a done deal.
If on January 20th he doesn't leave the White House will leave him. Because in history, there was an American President Adams who didn't want to leave. At the end of the day, the staff and personnel of the White House started taking things out to make sure that he is no longer in charge.
Are we also following the events in a turn of events in Ghana's election?
Yes, the loser, Draman, is challenging the victory. But for now, as the last following up, the winner, Nana Akufo-Addo, was in the Zango area thanking the people for the victory. But again, there are pressures being put on Draman to let go because apparently the election was said to be free and fair. But he is challenging that security agencies were used to undermine the election against him.
It was a close one.
Yes, it was a close one.
No question about that.
All right,
but I just, we just can't get away from that. Is this a new normal now for bandits and kidnappers to raid schools and take away children, and then we start playing catch up? It's worrisome. It's worrisome. In the case of Boko Haram, you could understand that that was in sync with their ideology, Boko Haram.
Yes.
It should prevent these young ones from going to school. But when you hear a demand that kidnappers are not only demanding for ransom, but an end to aerial surveillance, I don't know.
Anyway, let's quickly take a look at the editorial taken from which paper now? The Punch. And it's basically on making passport collection easy for diaspora Nigerians. And it says that technology has given humankind the option of doing things faster, better, and more effectively. But Nigeria's foreign missions worldwide seem to have deliberately made passport application difficult in order to give room for extortion. But take a listen here. Most of their websites contain stale information. For instance, the website of the Nigerian embassy in China still displays a photograph of Goodluck Jonathan as the president of Nigeria, despite having leaving office since 2015. The telephone numbers on several of the websites are either not functional or are never responded to when called, while emails are never replied to. This is disgraceful for a country that prides itself as the giant of Africa.
Well, the concern of the editorial is to make sure that our compatriots who are abroad, when they come to renew their passport, it is made easier for them, and is advocating that they should use technology to effect this ease of passport renewal. He cites an instance of a security man who was demanding sex of a Nigerian who wanted the passport removed. Incidentally, that happened in Germany, and that security man has been sacked. They are using that to demonstrate the level to which the generation about the initiative to frustrate Nigerians from getting their passport renewed. And so the kernel of it all is that adopt technology as a means of renewal of passport, and it will make life easier for our compatriots abroad.
All right, Bayo, thank you for that review. A very good one today. I didn't have to use my yellow card.
But Claire, what Bayo just said apparently is an abbreviated response to a challenging issue that Nigerians who are living outside the country face. Why? I don't know. I have no experience with other countries because I'm not a national of other countries. Why is it that Nigerians have extreme difficulty in obtaining Nigerian passports from Nigerian missions in the countries where they reside? A couple of weeks ago, a security guard in the Nigerian mission in Germany was fired. This was after due process because he was trying to sexually harass a lady who was trying to get her passport back for was asking for sexual favors, to say, look, I will help you fast track this particular one. And then you find some Nigerians in countries that have vast territories like Canada or the US, some of the applicants are requested to come to Ottawa or to come to Washington, D.C., and when they get there, the offices are sometimes closed without notice. And those who come have nowhere to go to. Some of them are students, and you have seen videos of some of these young persons crying.
Yes.
Why is it that no action is taken? It is this kind of behavior, that just makes you wonder sometimes why the officials are out there. Are they serving themselves, or they are serving Nigerians, in addition, of course, to serving the Nigerian state and the Nigerian government?
The simple thing of using technology. Your passport is due to be renewed. You can call the embassy and confirm when it is ready. They will ask you to come when you get you travel far away to the mission, and then you are told, sorry, your passport is not ready, and you have to go back. I can remember the incident of the lady you talked about.
What numbers to call?
Especially when the telephone numbers are not functioning. Yes.
Bayo, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow, as always. Bye-bye. So you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service. Time for us to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the mass housing plan under the ESP. All right, thank you for being there for us on Good Morning Nigeria. Now, I'm sure you must have heard of so many mass housing scheme or initiatives, for low, middle income earners. Well, what makes this one different from those ones you've heard? What are your chances of owning a home? This might be the chance that you're looking for. So I really want to advise that you stay tuned. But just before we introduce our guest for today's discussion, let's take a listen to this background report put together by our correspondent, Kunle Ade.
As part of efforts to mitigate the effects of COVID-19, the federal government rolled out the 2.3 trillion naira economic sustainability plan. This is aimed at addressing the challenges facing every sectors of the economy badly hit by the pandemic. One of the areas of priority to the government in this regard is shelter, and therefore the National Social Housing Program is incorporated as a component of the economic sustainability plan. The program aims at delivering 300,000 affordable housing coupled with creation of over 1 million jobs. These will enable low-income earners to own houses ranging from 1 to 3 bedroom apartments in different parts of the country. The Central Bank of Nigeria has already committed a 2 billion naira facility to the program. The initiative is expected to encourage local content development as the materials for the housing are to be sourced locally. The questions on the lips of many Nigerians are, what strategies are in place to ensure full implementation of the scheme? What steps should be taken by will-be beneficiaries to key into the scheme? How sustainable is it? How will this stimulate the economy? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will provide answers shortly.
Many thanks there at Kunle Adeyeye for the background. Now joining us in the studios to discuss this issue, let's welcome Mr. Femi Adewale. Adewale is Managing Director of Family Homes Fund under the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Adewale, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Also here with us in the studios is Ms. Ime Okon. She's a Senior Special Assistant to the President on Infrastructure. Ms. Okon, pleasure to have you with us this morning. Yes.
All right, let's go to our Lagos Network Center. And there seated is High Chief Tajuddin Uriyomi Ayola, President, Cooperative Federation of Nigeria, CFN. He's also the immediate past President, Lagos State Cooperative Federation. Hi, Chief Ayola, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right, so let's begin with the MD Family Homes Fund. That's Mr. Adewale. As I said earlier on, we've had, quite a number of housing initiatives, meant to bridge the housing deficits, especially for low-income earners and all that. So could you just give us an insight into what makes this very initiative and how it is different from the rest before it?
Okay, thank you, Madam, and thank you again for having me. I think there's a significant difference between this current initiative and a number that we have had in the past. And I think the first area of difference is that this initiative is heavily policy-driven. You would perhaps recall that one of the major agenda of the current government, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, is a social intervention program, which is a focused objective of alleviating poverty among the significant population of Nigeria that are deprived by reason of the low income that they earn. And within that policy is a whole range of linked programs. So you have things like trader money, conditional cash transfer, school feeding programs, and housing comes in as part of that mix to all work together with all of those issues to ensure that Nigerians on low income, who, by the way, are the significant majority of our population, have a chance of improving their quality of life. So that's the first thing, that this initiative is founded on a very solid policy to improve the quality of life of Nigerians. The second key area of difference, particularly in respect to the Family Homes Fund, is that it was established not as a primarily government-driven initiative. It's actually a public-private partnership, in the sense that, yes, the government is providing a significant amount of seed capital, and the government's objective is to seed it with up to 500 billion naira over its life, but the fund itself has to raise in excess of 1 trillion naira to be able to prosecute the mandate that it has. That means that it has to develop a sound business discipline. It has to develop a strong corporate governance. It has to be efficient to be able to attract the private sector capital that it has. The third key area of difference is about strategy, in the sense that the Family Homes Fund was not set up to build houses primarily. It's really leveraging on existing potentials and capacity within the sector, our contractors, our developers, and enabling them by giving them access to reasonably priced financing to enable them to do the building. If you recall, a lot of the previous housing program that we've had have been based on government or government agencies directly building the houses themselves. This is leveraging on the existing capacity, growing existing businesses, but enabling them with access to well-priced financing to enable them to do that. The final thing I would say in terms of the area of difference, that we actually see the housing objective as a means to an end, the end being to create jobs and get money in the pockets of people. So Family Homes Funds, for example, aims to do about 500,000 homes under its core program, and under the social housing program, under 300,000 homes. But outside of that is creating 1.8 million jobs. That's about 6 new jobs per each house under the social housing program. Each of those people at the lowest level on site will earn about 2,500, 3,000 naira per day. Working about 25 days a week, that's about 75,000 naira per month. Is putting real money in the hands of real people. But beyond that is also invigorating our almost dead and comatose manufacturing sector, particularly in the built environment. Over the last 20 years, practically every of our building products are coming in from China or such other countries. We have the capacity to produce those things in Nigeria, and one of the key objectives of this program is to ensure that we are able to recover those industrial capacity. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Adewale, there are a number of issues that you clarify when the conversation continues. But let's bring in Ime Okon at this time, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Infrastructure. What's your role in this social housing program that's supposed to be launched tomorrow, and what should we expect?
That's a very good question. Essentially, since I work in the presidency advising the government on infrastructure-related issues, and my main focus is on housing, roads, and PPP. So what I do essentially with the Family Homes Fund is to, work collaboratively to ensure that they have access that they need to the presidency, and to ensure that the government policy, is, implemented to the letter. So what I have also done recently is to also, work with the cooperative, since the program has been divided in such a way that we have different, strata of people that we're going to, engage to be able to ensure that these houses get to the low income earners. Because in the past, like what he has just said, in the past, we've had different government programs that have come on board, and we are trying to ensure that this program doesn't go the same way those programs have gone. So what we've now done, we've identified the Cooperative Society of Nigeria as one key social angle that we can use to get to the poor. So I've worked with them, gone around the whole country to try to sensitize Nigerians and through cooperatives to ensure that this program is available and how they can access this program. And one of the key questions that they've asked in such interaction is, it's another politicized program. Elections are coming very soon. Now you're coming out to try to tell us that we're going to have this, and we've been able to essentially clarify. We've been able to essentially clarify their thoughts that, look, this program was designed for the masses. It has the color of the masses, and we are here with the Family Homes Fund to ensure that the program is implemented as designed by the federal government. And what other things we can also do when we go out like that, we also listen to what the people are saying. Okay, we've designed something for them in our offices. We are going out now telling them, this is what we've done. How do you think, can this work the way we have fashioned it? What other points do you think we can incorporate to ensure that you all, have access and are able, to participate in this program? So essentially to be there with the team and ensure that as the program is designed, it is implemented, and if there are any political issues that need to be addressed, then we're there to help them sort it out.
What is the design of the program?
Designed specifically for low-income earners. See, we've had...
I'm not saying the design of the houses. I'm saying the design. You talked
that's
about
what I'm
design
trying to say.
of the program.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you now. Okay. This emanated from what we've seen, the global pandemic, COVID. And every other country responded somewhat to say, how do we help our citizens, you know, to manage the impact of COVID? COVID affected everything, the economic, you know, affected us economically, socially. So we also sat back as a government and said, okay, we need to come up with a plan that would help us to cope. And the plan was the Economic Sustainability Program. And the Economic Sustainability Program identified key sectors in the economy that we can, you know, create some form of activities. So by the time we create those activities, it catalyzes into different activities in the economy. Housing, everybody knows, is very people-oriented. We have a lot of artisans. We have a lot of people that are at the lower level that work, you know, in the housing sector. We have artisans, we have laborers, we have, you know, different people that earn money on a daily basis. COVID affected a lot of those people that earn money on a daily basis. So the design that we have for this program is essentially working with those low-income earners. We are building houses in different sites. We are asking that all the artisans, the small, the SME partners, because in any economy, the SME sector is what helps you to kickstart your economy and to build it, to sustain activities in the economy. So we've asked that the SMEs, those small and medium enterprises, come, tell us, show us where your skill sets are. You can take each site and work there. And if you work on each site, you are able to, you know, engage, employ a lot of those daily pay workers, so that the impact of that COVID is mitigated somewhat because they have work that they go to and they have work that will give them money.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Lagos now. Hi, Chief Tajuddin Uriyomi. I want to presume that you are the link between the initiators, implementers, and of course, those who will be house owners. You know, low income has become an omnibus, you know, referring to so many people to the extent that we don't even know who is now a low income earner, because by the time you get to see the whole package, you know, Mr. Adewale here has talked about it will become sound business discipline. He will get to explain what that means. Sound corporate governance, he will get to explain what that means. Ime here has talked about the fact that this is an initiative that has the color of the people. I don't know what she means by that, but what do you understand from your, you know, tell us so that those who fall within the group of low-income earners will understand what this scheme is really all about.
Thank you very much. Once again, let me start by saying that we need to actually commend the government on this program. Just as we have heard from Mr. Adewale, this is a program that is quite different from the previous one. That when you are talking of low-income housing, we have seen that this is real low-income housing program. And when we heard of this, the cooperative with our platform and our structure, and with our people, we feel that our platform will be the best for the implementation of this program. So we provided the platform for the government to implement the program among all other platforms. And in terms of definition of being low income, the government itself actually defined it, that people earning 100,000 naira per month or low. But beyond that, we feel that in our own movement, a movement of more than 20 million Nigerians, we have a great number of people who are actually people with income that are not sustaining them enough to have housing over their heads. Therefore, we feel that the program is actually meant for majority of our members. Of course, we have categories of cooperators in Nigeria, and we have them in all the sectors of Nigerian economy. But of course, we have majority of us as market women, market men, artisans, and junior workers in the government establishment, even in private sectors. We have all of them. Therefore, we feel that, this is the best program for us. And providing our platform will actually assist the government to get to the targeted population. And not only that, it will also assist the government to get these program delivered in bulk to the people that are actually in need of it, and make it more convenient and even more effective for the government to use our platform. And that is our own connection into this. And just as I said, the cooperative platform is well structured, that the government will actually get to their targeted population.
Thank you very much, Chief Ayeola. Mr. Femi Adewale, is this program targeted now at members of cooperatives, or is it generally to low-income earners when the programs, projects, that's to say now the houses get to be delivered? Because listening to Ayeola in Lagos, it appears to be that cooperatives will be the primary target. And assuming they are the primary target, what then would be unique about this whole effort? You're talking about PPP. I'm sure probably you are aware that there are a number of cooperative organizations throughout the country, particularly in urban areas, that have been acquiring land and building estates. You have them here in Abuja, you have them in Lagos, you have them in other locations. So what's unique about this new idea, assuming it's a new one?
Thank you very much. I think if you allow me, let me just kind of step back a little bit to address the design issue, because that's actually quite fundamental. The design of this program, the mass housing program, is that the Family Homes Fund, along with our partners, are providing financing for primarily private and public sector developing organization. So that could be a private sector developer or a housing corporation or a government agency like the Federal Housing Authority. Okay? So we get money in their hands. A critical condition of them accessing that capital is that they must mobilize demand. So we're not speculating in building. They need to mobilize and identify who the buyers need to be ahead of building, okay? And ensuring that there's a match between the houses that are built and the people who actually will live in them. And the design of the program identifies cooperatives as already existing capacity within the society. They're in excess, as I said, of 20 million Nigerians at various cadres. So we have cooperatives of butchers, we have cooperatives of mechanics, we have cooperatives of Okada riders, as we have cooperatives of oil workers earning millions of naira. So the idea is that the cooperative present a ready platform of aggregating, identifying and aggregating demand. And that is led to the relationship with the Cooperative Federation of Nigeria, which is not a single cooperative, it's actually a network. Is the overarching body that brings together all of the cooperatives. And what they have done over the last 3 or 4 months is brought together all of the cooperatives from across the 36 states of Nigeria, identified them, sought their interest, and on the back of that, as part of the design of the program, one of the things that's being launched tomorrow is the housing portal. That allows individuals, the cooperative, but also ordinary members of the public to go online and express interest. So we are able to capture their data. They can access information about where the houses are being built, what they can afford, so that we actually are able to get to them. The portal, as I said to you,
artisans and mechanics will be accessing the portal.
Sorry?
It's artisans and mechanics.
No, they won't. They won't. And that is the reason why you have a cooperative, because now they have an intermediary that enables them to do that. Okay, so whilst a keke napep rider can't access, he has a cooperative and he has support to enable him actually to enter into that program. And that is the reason for that design. But beyond the construction, the idea also, I think my colleague Ime said, is the fact that the actual building of the houses, and in fact, before I get there, I should say this, that one of the key determinants ensuring that the house gets to the people who need them is pricing. So a key condition for accessing the capital is, 1, you need to have identified the demand. 2, the pricing of the unit to the end user has to fall within a specified range. And the idea is that the lowest cost units, which are a two-room unit, should be no more than 2 million naira. okay, in addition to which they are given a long-term opportunity up to 15 years.
2 million.
2 million naira.
Are these mud houses or?
No,
I'm sure you know the price of a bag of cement.
Absolutely, and one of the things that is happening tomorrow is that I will invite you, literally 5 miles from here, in Day, is a sample home, because one of the things the family home son wanted to do, in the light of similar cynicism, is to say, let's build the houses. Let's build really and let people see them and keep a clear record of, is this possible to do? So those houses are there on the ground today, a 2 and a 3 bedroom unit. They are visible for all to see. And one of the key things that's happening tomorrow as we launch the portal is also to do a press so that see that actually it is possible. And I think that for those of us who are middle income people, we sometimes don't understand the needs of those people who we are trying to house. For somebody who is living in a slum where his family and his toilet and his kitchen is in a single 6-by-6 room and he has to share other conveniences with about 8 other families, moving him into a small house that he has his own kitchen, he has his own toilet, is a big leap in the quality of his life. And that is what this program, targeted at Nigeria's lowest income people, is aimed at doing. And I think it's decidedly focused on that.
When you say targeted at lowest income people, and these people are within cooperatives, have you actually taken a look at the people who are within these cooperatives? And how are you going to ensure that this thing is not hijacked from those who actually need the houses?
Okay, I can respond to that, and that is what the partnership with CFN is about. It's about saying that these people have an organization that speaks to them, that gets information to them, that organizes them, that protects them. And I think we underestimate them. So in Ibadan, for example, we're looking to work with a group of their just mechanics, roadside mechanics, who have formed themselves. They had not been formed before, but being aware of this, they formed themselves into a group, okay? And so we're interested in this, but we can't access the finance. We can't access the housing portal. The CFN and its partners is providing them with that intermediation to ensure that they have access to it. And the fact that they are in a group helps give them that protection about somebody else coming in to take it away from them.
I know, Mr. Adebole, I mean, the temptation is strong to remain with you so that we quickly trash out one aspect. We're talking about the range of the cost of the homes, say for the lowest range, probably not more than 2 million naira. That's why I interjected and asked whether these would be mud houses. Just trying to reflect. I mean, it's what are the components you need for a house, even if it's a 1-bedroom house? When you break down those components, I don't know what your latest price intelligence tells you. You think you can deliver those homes at 2 million? I don't know. You can see in recent months, the rate of inflation has climbed, and I believe that your program, of course, will also be impacted by other macroeconomic indices. So what are the things you need? You need sand, sharp sand. You need plaster sand, ultimately. You need granite. You need cement. As I said, a bag of cement I hear now is about 3,000 or 3,500. Bag of cement. And you would need your windows. Everybody is using aluminum frames now, and you can see what the cost is. You would need your doors. You would need, if the rafters or the formwork for your roof, assuming you have wood, if they have not denuded the forest. And then, of course, you would need long-span aluminum sheets, roofing sheets.
You didn't tell me you've come.
No, it's not a matter. I mean, if you have built a house before, you will know some of these. You will know these things.
Absolutely.
I mean, at my age, I shouldn't. If I were to sit down here and tell you I don't have a house, you will be wondering what has happened to me. But just breaking it down, you think I'm not talking about building a mansion. I'm just saying, because you say, look, you are moving from a face me, I face you, to a one-bedroom apartment. All the conveniences you would need, the conveniences, your wiring, your cabling, everything. I mean, just break it down.
Okay, let me break it down. I happen to have been an architect for about 35 years.
Congratulations.
So I think I know a little bit about what it takes to build it. And I totally understand the headwind that we face now in terms of inflation over the last 4 weeks. But I think the temptation is to be boxed, to restrain our thinking within that box. The world of housing finance has gone beyond that. That actually the sales price to the person does not necessarily mean that that is the cost price of building the houses, because there's such a thing as cross subsidies. That is, I'm able to build. So it's rather than the practical of building solution that you are suggesting, that's a financial solution, in the sense that I can build a more expensive house. I can build a 10, 15 million, which is the kind of house that you probably want to build, and use the surplus from that to cross-subsidize a lower income house that makes it accessible to low income people. And that this has become a strategy right across the world. It's the reason why you can go into London and in a block of £1 million apartment, you find a social housing unit there. Because that social housing unit doesn't cost £30,000. It probably costs £500,000. But it's being subsidized, cross-subsidized, because of the higher value units that are within that program. Okay, so it's not a silver bullet. Of course, we've done everything possible, including support from the government. We're talking to cement manufacturers to get a discount for cement that is going into this program. So we're working on that. But we're also working outside that. What can we do with respect to VAT? A low-income person who has to buy a 2 million naira house still has to pay 7.5% VAT at the point of purchase. We're working on how can we leverage cross-subsidy to ensure, because the issue is not the process. The issue is the solution that we have today. Significant numbers of our populations who are living in unhealthy conditions with significant pressure on their educational outcomes, significant pressure on their health outcomes, therefore pressure on our health system, significant pressure on our security. We must solve it. And therefore, we can't restrain the solution to what is the price of cement and the price of roofing sheets. Those are there. We've just got to solve them. And I think what the Family Homes Fund stands to do is to leverage our own experience and knowledge to look for ways within the building sector, within the financial services sector, to solve those problems. And I think that's what we're doing. That is why those two units are standing there, and I think you can see them. And very soon, over the next 6 months, you will find thousands of them across the country.
Well, thanks, Mr. Adewale. I just, Emir Okon, still on this and other aspects you may wish to explain, because it's not cynicism per se, but as my colleague Claire asked, look, we've seen a broad array of housing initiatives in recent decades. I mean, if you were around during the Second Republic, you would recall the housing agenda of the central government and then some of the state governments. Much earlier in the First Republic, you had housing corporations, one in Akure, for instance, and they also had a football club. We used to beat them, that's Bendel Insurance. But just so that we don't run the risk of something, run into some risk. I'm happy that Mr. Adewale has tremendous experience in this regard. Part of what you find these days, if you were to go to the market, for the developers or for those who want to build on their own, you are asked, is this house you want to build, is it your own or is for contract? True or false?
That is true.
So, how do you factor that into this so that the homes you build for these persons and they willingly and happily move in do not begin to collapse on them when termite begins to eat the rafters? You are smiling. So that the homes are durable.
The way the houses have been built right now, they are extremely durable. Before this one that we've started, we have the house at Nasarawa, which was built under Family Homes Fund itself, outside of the government program that we're talking about now. And that essentially is housing low-income earners. And we invite you to check it out also. Federal Road Safety Corporation, they've taken over those houses, and the houses are extremely durable. I can live there. So, and it's a very key point that you've raised, that if the prices sound ridiculously cheap, the outcome, would it be something somebody can live in? And that's what we are also trying to ensure, because we have quality control. We have a lot of documents that Family Homes Fund has prepared for the builders, for the building companies, and we'll have management contractors on each site that would oversee the work that will be done in each of the sites. So we also have the bill of quantity that has also been approved. Like Femi also said that the price, the end user price is quite different from the cost price. So since we've built something down now, we have a prototype. We know exactly what it will take. Yes, there's a lot of concessions that we have to make, and we also got from, from the manufacturers and from the distribution suppliers of all of this product. Another key thing you should also...
Who are these manufacturers, for instance? Name
we have people like the Dangote that we're working with.
That's cement, just one?
Yeah, that's cement, and Femi can also give us the names of others, but we have a lot of them that we've sat down at the round table to tell them that, look, on our own, if we follow the market, indicators, we're not going to be able to build this, so we need a lot of concessions. And I can also take you back before Family Homes Fund, actually started production. We did try something like this, where the federal government set up a task force to ensure that, look, because it's one of the key, points of this present administration that people should be housed. The low income should be housed, because what we see in Abuja, we see a lot of, mid houses and very expensive houses, all of them still empty. So the key point is, look, we have a lot of slums. I don't know how many of you have gone out to see the slum situation is quite appalling. So moving those people from the slum into these houses does make a lot of sense. And the quality control, we are not, we're not glozing over it. We're taking it seriously. So for each site, we have all the prerequisites and we have all the supervisors that will ensure that the houses, the final outcome will not be a house that will turn or an estate that will eventually turn into a slum. So the price point, like we said, disregard it. It sounds ridiculous, but we've been able to achieve with a lot of concessions in terms of access to free land, because, land is also a key component of building. We've had conversations with all the Governors Forum all across Nigeria, and they've all promised, most of them have put land on the table for us to be able to build these houses, because there's no gainsaying that even if you build a house that is not easily accessible to the city centers where most of these people go to work, you'll find that the uptake would also be an issue. So that's why we're ensuring that the places where we get the land to build the houses are in key locations that the low-income earners can easily have access. I don't know why you keep laughing about this.
No, when you say, because look, there are market issues in this. Market issues. And I'm happy you already touched on the issue of land, because one of the points that I noted, the price of land. And the artisans and mechanics and those whom you want to access these homes or these houses once they are built are persons who normally will ply their trade, in business activity areas. So, if a state government, I'm not being prejudicial in my comment, if a state government promises you land, you can be sure it will be on the outskirts.
That's what I said.
You can be sure, Femi is smiling, you can be sure it will be on the outskirts.
We have criteria that we usually put on the table when we access.
Yes.
Access to the... Femi, go ahead.
Okay, let's bring, yes, Kingsley, and it's a very good point you made. Again, on the outskirts, do you have access to other social amenities, water, electricity,
infrastructure,
good road? Okay. You are SA infrastructure. Do you also ensure that those services are available?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. This is a collective responsibility for all arms of government. The federal government is not exclusive of the state government. We've had conversations with the state government and we've told them the type of land that we want. And so far, what we've received from the state government have been the kind of lands that have this access to the city center. If you look at the Dede location, for instance, it's very close to town. It's very close to town.
Dede is not very close to town.
It's close, relative to where...
Dede is closer to Zuba.
No, but
on the Abuja Kaduna Highway or Abuja Gwagwalada Highway.
For those people that you're looking at, the low-income earners, do you check where they live? Some of them live in Niger, some live in Kaduna.
Let's bring them...
So looking at those people living in Kaduna, Niger, and then bringing them closer to the city, that is still relatively close.
Okay. Hi, Chief. I'm sure you must have seen the houses already on ground, the one in Nasrawa and Dede. If you have, I'd like you to tell us what you think about those houses for you. Would you live in those houses? And in terms of payment, are you comfortable with the, with the ceiling? Do you think it's something that your members can afford?
Thank you very much. I think we need to make some clarifications too. Now, in terms of land, the state government had to provide land for this program. But in addition also, with our discussion with family homes, that we have many of our societies with their own land. We do acquire lands in cooperative societies, and we request that these houses be built on this land. And this has been accepted for our members, basically our members alone anyway. Now, I think that also should be considered. And in terms of the houses, we have seen it, and we feel that when you talk of cooperatives, or you talk of Cooperative Federation of Nigeria, the Cooperative Federation of Nigeria is an umbrella of all the cooperatives in Nigeria. And when you talk of cooperative in Nigeria, we have different types, different categories. We have millionaires cooperative, we have middle-income cooperative, we have the lowest of the low-income cooperatives. I'm aware we have NTA staff cooperative and the rest. Therefore, these houses, just as it has been said, is meant for the people at the bottom of the ladder of the society. And when you talk of a 3-bedroom flat, 2-bedroom flat, a room and parlor self-contained, as it has been structured, I think it is okay for us. And at the same time, we feel that provision of infrastructural facility, just as Ime said, is the responsibility of the government. And we have also requested, apart from the link to the main city, even within the estate, all this necessarily need to be provided. As a matter of fact, it's as if we have a telepathic communion of opinion, as those questions we are actually asking from the government official, that is Madam Ime with you, that these houses, just as we have been told and we believe, is quite different from the previous one. Apart from being low cost, it's actually being addressed, being designed to address the needs of the low-income earners in the society. Not mainly for all the cooperators, not only for Nigerians, but the low-income earners, people that actually live, about 6, 7, 8 of them live in just only one room. Some people living under the bridge. We have identified a set of people that they ride the Okadas, and if you see where they live, in fact, where they live can even instigate them to go into crimes. But when we have a room and parlor apartment for them, and with the convenience of payment being spread over a period of 25 years for some of them, of course, that can never be all of them, but for some of them, I think it's a good thing for us, and it's a good thing for Nigerians, and the government should be commended for that. The only thing that we just need to say that is the commitment with which we are talking now should be the same thing with which it should be implemented.
Just wondering, Claire, Chief Ayeola, in terms of philosophy, in terms of orientation towards solving the housing needs of low-income earners, I'm sure you recognize that there is no disagreement, as it were. It is just on how this will be delivered and the issues to bear in mind. And as has been pointed out, look, we have, decades of experience now on promises to deliver mass of social housing, and oftentimes those programs take off, and after a while, everything peters out. Here, we've had in this studio conversation around FISH, F-I-S-H, Program for Housing for Public Servants. Where is it today? We had 100,000 mortgages. Where is that? We discussed it on Good Morning Nigeria. So there's an experience from which we can speak. And these ones are just recent experiences. But as I said, you saw what happened in the Second Republic. Those Jakonde homes or houses you referred to in Lagos, they're also there. You also saw some federal houses in a number of towns when MPN was building theirs. UPN states were also bidding there. But I still want to stay with you, Chief Ayola, so that we're looking at some of the likely impediments and how to overcome them before challenges begin to arise. You say a number of cooperatives acquire land. Yes, that is true. And you hear them, approaching you for advice or counsel. But it also has turned out that oftentimes, some of these cooperatives run into challenges with the validity of their titles. Here in Abuja, for instance, I'm sure you must have heard what happened, so-called acquisition by one or two of government security agencies along Airport Road or Lugbe. FHA issued a warning, to trespassers to vacate the land. And those who had already started construction, they put their hands on their head and we're all over the place. And you have also seen in some cases where not just another government agency who is an overlord in terms of title holding, communities from which they acquire those lands, communities now begin to make all kinds of demands, even after they would have paid, but without perfecting the title. How are you likely to deal with these issues so you don't go and start construction on the land so that instead of an Okada rider or the low-income earner to go home and sleep, every time it's issues with Omonile and others?
Thank you very much. The issue of land, it goes beyond that of cooperative alone. It has to do with the land system in Nigeria. And at the same time, you look at that, we have been on this for long, and will continue to be on it. We here in Lagos and some other states in the southwest, it has gotten to a level that even the federation itself will need to come in, and we have to see government officials. Even sometimes we have had the opportunity of going to see the governor on some of our lands, and I think this will continue. And the government has a lot to do on that too. Now, on the issue of the housing itself, let me also come back to say that what we have devised as in terms of taking care of some of this concern is one, take issue of mortgage, for example. We have to bring in our own bank, that is a cooperative mortgage bank, because this is a bank that actually understands our own language. Therefore, if you want to deal with us in terms of, as it relates to mortgage, you also need to deal with our bank. And the government has accepted that from us. And with that, we also feel much more comfortable with that. And at the same time, even the construction, the building of these houses, will actually need to take active part in supervision, in seeing to it that the developer are doing the right thing. And at the same time, we are much more on ground, and we have access to family homes. We have access to the office of the vice president to make complaint if we see anything that is going wrong that we don't actually want. And at the same time, we have also requested from the government that, okay, see, we have an administration that is having less than 3 years to go. Hope this program will not just pack up with the administration. And we are sure that the essence of family homes being brought into it as the implementing agency is that it's more or less on its own now. It's a program that is being implemented through an agency that cannot be totally said to be of government. And we believe that is also a big factor in ensuring that we have a solid system in place for this housing. And the issue of cooperative land on its own, we have a number of cooperatives with CFO and title documents that even with that, let's go with that first. And we see, they said the 300,000 units is at the first instance. Before we go into another phase, at least with our societies with original titles, in fact, the 300,000 housing unit will not even be enough for us.
Okay, thank you. So, Ime, I would like you to address that issue that Kingsley. Are there plans, to address those issues should they arise?
Repeat the issue.
Yes,
Particular issue.
Kingsley asked the question about, when the issue of titles and, certification of, documents.
Okay, we've done a lot in that regards. As I mentioned earlier, before Family Homes Fund became fully operational, we had a presidential task force that was set up, and one of the things that we looked at was, titling and ensuring that each of the lands that we have access to has appropriate title. So the Minister of Housing then was in charge of that task force. So to enable the task force to have access to any of the governors that we need to talk to. So we've gone round, and what we did was to try to do an audit of most of the federal government programs that titling is an issue, and I don't recall any one of them really that are titling issues. So, but the ones that came to us, like from the private sector, because then we try to engage the private sector, whatever we're trying to do now, we're trying to ensure that there's sustainability, and sustainability is just not depending on government resources, also trying to engage the private sector. So we had engaged the private sector developers, engaged marketers, engaged all through the value chain to see how we can collaborate in terms of, okay, if we don't have sufficient land, because sometimes in actual fact, like in Lagos now, you can't expect really to get the land in the city. So in some states where we don't have the kind of land that we need to build the estates, that by the time we finish, the people that stay there stay in there and not emigrate again to other places to cause slums. We try to engage with the private sector, and as the president has said, we also work with their own land. So as I was saying, the task force then had reached out to the private sector developers. If you have land that you can, give to the government, we can work out the modalities of how we can get those lands. Then we're trying to create a land bank for Family Homes Fund, because realize that, as we've all identified, that land is a key component of having any form of low-cost housing. So we had tried to ensure that we had a sufficient land, available for Family Homes Fund. So when they start, they would start running rather than, going cap in hand to look for lands everywhere. So we had reached that situation where we got land that were not encumbered, and the ones that were encumbered, we went out to the state government to ensure that we had the right titling, done for those lands. So as I mentioned, I know these are all ongoing conversations. They keep coming up because land is key in any of the states and to the federal government also. But as they come, we have that understanding and the cooperation of all the state government that, look, this must work. And if this has to work, and if titling is an issue, we will try to resolve it. And before I even go further, we also have the federal government agency, a government agency, that not government agency per se, but was created by government agency with the mindset of also, collaborating with the private sector, NMRC, the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company. So what they have also tried to do is to try to work with each of the state government to ensure that they reform their titling system, like what we have in Aegis. Aegis is a model for us to look at in terms of titling and having all your land in one pot. So if any investor wants to see if any land is encumbered, they know where to go to and they check. So NMRC is going round for all the states that have agreed to work with them to try to ensure that what we have in Aegis in Abuja is replicated in all the states. So when you go as an investor to a state, for instance, like Gombe, and you've indicated where you want the land, you've seen the land, you're in the process of buying, you can take the particulars of those land and go to that Aegis like institution in that state to ensure that there's no encumbrance. And if there's any encumbrance, you can always run back to the government to get it sorted out.
A number of state governments have already started setting up their GIS.
Exactly.
Exactly. Nasarawa, close by here, has one.
Exactly.
Cross River has one.
Exactly.
Edo State has one.
So we're working with them to ensure that is sustainably done.
Has tried to do that. But there are issues which would...
That's why we're here. We're working with them.
Hang on a second. There are issues, but we're going to have to take a short break now. When we return from the break, we'll look at some of those issues and also read out the comments coming in from our viewers by way of tweets.
All right, we're having a very interesting conversation right here in the studio. Don't worry, in a short while you'll soon get to hear the gist. But let's quickly take our tweets that we have received. I expected the number of tweets that we have this morning. Kingsley, you want to kick off? Okay.
Yeah.
Omogbolahan Babs, Omo Naija tweets, the National Housing Scheme is long overdue, but then it's better late than never. If successive governments over the years have taken the issue of housing seriously, Nigeria wouldn't have had a housing deficit of almost 20 million. The cost should be affordable for the poorest of the poor.
Now, Festus Akimboyewa has a long one, so we're going to have to abridge it. In 2017, the federal government promised to address our housing needs by building thousands of houses under the National Housing Project. But where are the houses today? It would be good if government can fulfill its recent promise, because the housing sector is a tool for stimulating economic growth. State governments and the private sector should key into this laudable program.
And Titus Monday Knock tweets, it says housing has become a mirage to the common man. Come to think of it, with 30,000 naira as minimum wage, it will take about 6 to 8 decades before one can afford to buy a land or house with proper documentations. You know, talk less of building and real estate managers and helping matters. Sometimes they vanish into thin air.
Chris Simeon, housing is one of the basic necessities government should provide for its citizens. The rising cost in acquiring apartments in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, and other cities has become worrisome to potential tenants.
Suleiman Baba Ghana tweets, government should go into a sustainable PPP agreement with relevant stakeholders to ensure delivery of high number of houses to deserving civil servants at affordable rate. Continuity of the scheme by successive administration should also be put into consideration.
Mutana Farouk, National Housing Scheme, government needs to form a strong and sincere synergy with private developers to enter a joint venture agreement for the purpose of delivery. Now, government alone can't do it, as the government revenue keeps dwindling through or low oil prices and other issues.
Cecilia Okoroma, if shelter is provided for low-income earners, Nigeria will see peace. We know that the devil uses the man who is homeless and hungry as a tool to cause destruction. We pray that the privileged few will not buy up these houses that are targeted for the ordinary Nigerians.
Suleiman Babagana, National Housing Scheme, that's a social housing program, by the way, should be a tool geared towards bridging the housing deficit, confronting civil servants in the junior cadre, and not a reward to top executives of MDAs who are not a priority at the moment.
Ibrahim Abdul Salam Bello, Nigeria has so many eye-catching policies, it says, that are so welcoming, but at the end of it all, we will fall short while implementing. If and only if our paperwork can match our actions, then we will be living in paradise on earth. Thank you, all of you, for your tweets, and we do share, of course, in your optimism that some of you have expressed. So, before Kingsley, I know, Kingsley, you want to talk about certain issues.
Yeah, maybe that's just before it flies away.
Yes.
I mean, either Femi or Emil can take this, because, Clay, you actually touched on it earlier on, namely, we're talking about apparently virgin land now, because that will be cheaper to develop, and you have the PPP factor in all this. So the cost of the home is so much. I mean, by the time you graduate them, the cost will also rise. But we know that infrastructure is key. Infrastructure, not just within the estate, if we can so describe it, where the houses will be built, but access into and out. And one experience that we have seen here in Abuja, some of the areas that have now opened up, private developers were giving land in the land swap deal and so on and so forth. So they, of course, divided those lands into various plots and started selling. But the obligation that they had to provide infrastructure, that obligation was never fulfilled in most cases. So that going to your home, you have built a nice house, going to your house becomes a nightmare. And the property owners now started on their own make contributions to do all of this. Can we avoid this? Because for low-income earners, you can be sure that it is how you built it there, the place it will remain the way it is. You want to get them out of the slum, so you don't create another slum. How do we avoid this, or how do we tackle this problem? You're familiar with some of the things I'm talking about.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that, as the mayor said, for us at the Family Homes Fund, it's absolutely critical that we are building homes that are accessible and have suitable infrastructures. And we're just not saying that. As we speak today, barely 2 years in operation, we have just under 15,000 homes that are at various stages of completion or completed. Every one of them has infrastructure either funded by us or by the partner government. Last week, Monday, so a week yesterday, I was in a state, I shouldn't mention the state, absolutely beautiful location, but there was a 6-kilometer gap between the main road and the estate. And I spoke to the leaders, and as I said, look, this is a lovely project. We'd like to fund this project, but we can't until we have a cast iron commitment that the infrastructure leading to that road will be provided. So that's the second issue. We're insisting on it. But we also understand the fact that we can't really put all of that on the back of somebody else. It's good if it comes. So one of the key funds that the Family Homes Fund itself manages is the Land and Infrastructure Fund. And the objective of the Land and Infrastructure Fund is that where you have some of these estates which otherwise are appropriate for living, but what we call the last mile infrastructure, so the connection between the bulk infrastructure and the edge of the estate, that we will look to finance that bit, certainly ahead of government where the government is not able to do that. And we're currently doing that in one of the southeastern states, for example. But on the principle, absolutely agree with you. Our sites in Kano, in Borno, in Yobe, in Bauchi, they are all on the edge of major highways and accessible. You mentioned the failed housing projects, and the Shagari one, which we applaud, because my sense to this project is that
I didn't say Shagari project was failed.
No, it didn't.
Was a failure. I didn't say that.
That we learned from them. And one of the key issues, I think Ime also mentioned, is that we understood that we needed to develop a strong partnership with the state government, that the state government needed to see what was in it for them in this project. And I think to date we have very strong commitment. In many cases, the land has been issued by state governments. Borno State, Kwara State, Ogun State, Akwa Ibom State have given generous allocations of land. Zamfara, Sokoto, generous allocations of land with CFO to the Family Homes Fund in decent locations to finance this project. So that's one lesson that we have learned. The second lesson which you picked up was the issue around the quality. We're absolutely clear that these houses can only be built by people who are certified to build houses.
Okay, I would always like to speak for the people. And it's beautiful initiative. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You've seen the tweets. Everyone is commending the initiatives. And government, indeed, is not short of such initiatives. I mean, just a few years ago, we had fish. A number of my colleagues in the civil service are still hoping that their dreams of owning a house via fish comes true. So how are you going to ensure that indeed this project is not hijacked and those for whom it was designed actually get, to own a house?
Okay. But I think, look, you've advised me not to get into the fish
no,
issue.
I'd like you to speak to, because these are the issues.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So with respect to the latter issue about that those for whom it's intended is not hijacked, as I think the English say, there's security in numbers. Okay, one of the key things that led us in the design to working with either cooperatives and or organized groups was that it's much easier for people to have access to what is built to them when they are working together, rather than individual people that are discrete and nobody really knows where they are. They have, so for example, he mentioned some of the low-income groups. They have, even if we tried to, or somebody tried to cheat them, they have an enlightened CFN to speak up for them and to protect them. So some form of consumer protection that ensures that they have access for that. That's also part of the objective of the portal, that actually there can be a tracing. Who is this person and what is the house that they've intended? And now, beyond 1979, some of the data that we have now, we didn't have then. So we know that if you have a BVN, you can't afford to allocate 10 houses because there's a unique identifier to your person. Okay, so do we have it all right? I don't think so. And I think that we will continue to improve and hopefully stay one step ahead of people who want to abuse the system. There will always be people who want to take advantage of the system. Our job is to ensure that we do all that we can to ensure that we stay ahead of people like that. And I think I can assure Nigerians that we are passionate and committed to ensuring that these houses end up in the hands of the people for whom is intended, that is people who are on low income. And we'll do all that we can within our knowledge to ensure that that is what happens. We can't help people who want to abuse the system, but we will fight them and do everything possible in the design to make sure that that does not become a defining characteristic of the program.
What's the payment model like?
Okay, so the payment model is the fact that depending on individual circumstances, they can have between 15 to 25 years to pay for the houses. So obviously depending on the age. So there are two different arrangements for paying. There are people who, if they are current subscribers to the National Housing Fund, because they're already making those payments, they're able to access the National Housing Fund. And part of this program is hopefully to provide some capital for that. But we understand that that capacity is limited. So the intervention fund, which is coming for the program, allows for the repayment of the houses for 15 years as a minimum. Okay? So people, when the houses are complete, people as individual contracts pay on a daily basis. Now, because Family Homes Fund is not a retail organization, we'll be working with mortgage banks to ensure that to service those loans post-construction.
Fine. You just talked about financing. This is clearly a case of mortgage.
Yes.
But you do know that if the property is priced at 2 million, by the time all kinds of interests and administrative costs get in, probably slightly more than 2 million. I hope that the off-takers will be aware of this so that somebody doesn't then say, look, they said that it's going to be 2 million. I've already paid almost 3 million and they still say I'm owing. You know? I hope they're aware of this.
I'm aware of that, and I think as I mentioned earlier, one of the key things that we're trying to address in partnership and with the support of government is some of those fees which go on top of the purchase price. So today in Nigeria, if you want to buy a home, regardless of your income, you pay a VAT on the purchase of the car. This is actually quite unusual in very many African countries, and I think that we've had very supportive and listening ears from government, and I think that we will be looking to ensure that we get a waiver, if possible, for VAT on housing for low-income people. That immediately takes that out. There's then the stamp duty costs, okay, which is another fee that goes on to the high purchase. There's the legal fees. Now that is within our control because given the volume, we put a lot. We have the leverage to impose an affordable rate on legal fees that's applicable to buyers. So for us, this is more than a project. It's a social mission to ensure that we get those houses in the hands of those who need them most at the price that they can afford. And I totally agree with you that there's a significant amount of add-on cost to purchase prices. We need to get to the bottom of those. Some is not within our power, but we're seriously advocating. And as I said, we've got very strong supportive ears to ensure that that will happen. And so I think that is a risk that we are going to significantly mitigate.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Adewole. Let's return to Chief Ayeola in our Lagos Network Center. Chief Ayeola, well, are cooperative members aware of this program that is going to be launched tomorrow? And if they are aware, what feedback are you getting from them? Are they enthusiastic about it? Are they asking questions? If they're asking questions, what kind of questions are they posing?
cooperatives and cooperative members, they are well all over Nigeria. Just as Ime said, we have been going all over Nigeria to actually sensitize our members about the program. We have been to all the geographical zones in Nigeria. The latest one was in Kano, that's northwest, and we had good feedback from our members. They were happy, and many of societies with land are already showing interest. And as at now, we have many of our societies which have shown interest. We have their lands being structured actually to kickstart the program. And we still go ahead. We are using all the platform we have, all the means we have to get our members informed. For tomorrow, launching of the portal and the prototype units, they are also aware. Since we got the information, we have got them informed about this, and I think we are ready for the program. We are ready. Just as you have been asking, I just want to use this opportunity to appeal to the government that they keep to their own terms of the bargain, and we continue with the commitment with which we have started. Looking at the issue of land, to us is not a main issue per se, because everything has to do with government. With the Omoniles, we are very much aware of them, and they are even part of us. We don't have much problem with them. But government allocating land today, tomorrow, revoking the license and all those things, these might be problems. But without that, I don't think we have any much problem with this. And with the commitment of family homes and with the track record, we feel that we are very much good to go.
Thank you very much, Chief Ayola. I just would like Mr. Femi Adewale to speak to this issue. Is there a time limitation for this program, or is the Family Homes Fund structured as a going concern? Self-succession, no matter what happens and so on and so forth, so that somebody doesn't then get into this now, and then you are saying that, look, that family, I mean, I don't want to be pessimistic, but you know the way things go. Yes. I mean, if there's no perpetual self-succession, there might be issues that will arise. So what is the legal framework for family homes itself, which is the primary driver of this?
Okay, thank you very much. A Family Homes Fund is a private limited liability company. It happens that its shareholding is by first the Ministry of Finance. On behalf of the federal government, it holds 51% of its shares, and the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, the NSIA, owns 49% of its shares. So it's structured as a going concern. It has revenue yielding assets stretching far back into 10 years. So it's built to stay here. Going forward, there are plans to bring in other investors into the company. So it is structured as a going concern, and that's what I talked earlier about the corporate governance around the institution. Now, with respect to the social housing program itself, it is just that it is a program. It's just one of the many things that the Family Homes Fund is doing. We've said ourselves that by the last unit should be completed no more than 3 years. Okay, and I think we are heading off to a good start with that. We are acquiring the land. The capital is there with the support of the central bank, and I think that there's really nothing apart from some of the structural issues that we will continue learning and developing from to stop that.
We just have to interject. I'm sorry, yes, because we've run out of time, but in less than 30 seconds, yes. Can individuals without cooperative access the social housing? This is from one of our tweets.
Absolutely,
and then
yes.
Another one, Olayinka tweets, can you please ask your guests how they will be able to come up with the same amount for housing units across the country, given disparity in land values and prices in different states?
Okay, the reason for that is basically because the houses are the same and the lands are coming in at no cost into the project. Yeah.
Okay, so can people without cooperative access the housing?
Absolutely, madam, yes.
Okay, this is, how long will the payment from the client be made? I wouldn't know if you have answered the question. Okay, you just joined the program.
Okay.
And is National Social Housing Fund different from NHF?
It is different, and it's 15 years as a minimum.
Okay. Kingsley, any other question?
No, well, it's this is one Usman Banu Kante says from the submissions of the designers, the scheme seems to be robust and well articulated. So, but we also expect that the disbursement of the loans should be equitable, transparent, and devoid of sentiment. Are you disbursing loans?
Yes, we're financiers. We're financing private and public sector developers. That's right.
Yes, we are not, but you are not financing the cooperatives, are you?
No, we're financing the developers. The cooperatives are just mobilizing the
demand.
Yeah, the demand side.
Yes.
Absolutely, that's what we said.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've said all there is to say. We've asked all there is to ask. We can only wish you the best of luck and hope that Nigerians will, of course, key into it. And then you will do a lot of sensitization and enlightenment for this program. So let me quickly appreciate Femi Adewale, Managing Director, Family Homes Fund of the Ministry of Finance. Thank you very much for coming to share your thoughts with us. Ime Okun, Senior Special Assistant to the President and Infrastructure. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And we hope to see more of you. High Chief Tajuddin Uriyomi Ayola, President, Cooperative Federation of Nigeria. Thank you very much for your input this morning. Thank
you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, and that's it. Good morning, Nigeria, for today. We thank you for joining us once again. Let's do it again tomorrow. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak. Bye-bye.
And I'm Kingsley Osadola. Stay safe and be well.